Okay,
Well,
great.
I'm showing about 7, but I'll wait.
Let me get this started to. Okay, it's recording.
Okay, it's close.
Everyone,
I'll wait a few more minutes. I see Chris just joined in, and
yeah, it is 7 though. Everyone, just again, mute your mics if you're not talking, so it keeps the noise levels down. That's all. And raise your hand or.
yeah, I'll try to watch everybody for physical hand raising if they're not electronic. Well, I guess we can start. If I don't know if anybody knows of anybody else joining in. I don't know of anybody else. Thank you, everyone. I will officially call the meeting to order. I guess it's 7:01. And we'll start by the first item to call for any other additions to the agenda. Anybody? No? All right, so don't hear any. So we'll move on to approve the minutes from the April 13th Select Board meeting. Motion to approve those, or?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 13th Select Board meeting.
Thank you, Tom.
And I will second that.
All right, thank you, Paul. Any comments or any changes, suggestions? For our first Zoom meeting, I think it went pretty smoothly.
Yep, Terry's joining the meeting now.
Okay. So we'll hold off for just a second. I guess I can go ahead and any further comments? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 And I see
Damn, boy, don't.
abstentions or any nays?
Chris, we can hear you.
All right, so I have all in favor for approving the minutes. Next two items are kind of lumped together for approving the timesheets and the pay orders. Terry had posted those up on the shared drive this afternoon, and I will plan to go into the office tomorrow to sign them. So I'll look for any comments or any anything that anybody saw in those or anything to point out.
I have a couple. I have a question. I have a question and a comment about the pay orders.
Sure.
First thing I want to do is I want to thank Sarah and Terry for they're doing these logs of what they're doing at home. And I think they're doing it really good, really helpful. Thanks for that. The other one is we talked about the bottle deposit, and it's like $5 a bottle for the water. We talked about that 2 weeks ago that they're charging us for them. Oh, there's Sarah's hand up.
The reason we didn't get deposits back the last couple times because 2 months ago it was town meeting, and then this time we didn't leave them out because of the COVID. We have to leave them out for them to take them. So they haven't taken any bottles in the last 2 pickups. So that's why you're not getting a deposit. And I tried to say that last time, but I couldn't.
Well, it came out good this time.
Yeah, perfectly.
The other question on that same topic is we're paying for 2 cooler rentals. Where's the other cooler?
At the town garage.
They have a cooler at the garage? Okay.
Yeah, they take water, the guys do, and they have their own cooler up there. So
I
we're
got
paying
you.
for the one in the office and the one in the garage.
Good. Thank you. See how good it is to have you here?
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. And back to the point, just real quick, when Paul and I and Terry and Sarah kind of discussed the office operations, we weren't trying to be big brother or anything like that to say monitor every minute of what they do, but just this kind of a new process, see where some of the stresses might be on the office, how many people are calling in, if, are we addressing everything, those types of things. So it's been super helpful just to kind of get a top line overview of what's going on and phone calls coming into the office and things like that. So So super. Not hearing anything else, I will plan to go into the office tomorrow and sign off on those as we set up a few weeks back, and hopefully this will be over soon and we'll be able to approve them normally. So next item, kind of an open topic, I guess, just an update on and discussion on regarding the COVID-19 situation and office operations and town operations and feedback going on in town. And I'll kind of leave that open. I think there's obviously a lot going on, but I don't know of any red flags out there. Any other feedback? I know Chris, it looks like he kind of maybe bopped off the meeting, but he had provided, and as Andy alluded to now too, I mean, we're still kind of in the thick of it. I mean, Southern Vermont's still seeing some stuff going on. I think Vermont in general and us, I mean, we're getting through it and doing a good job distancing and things like that. There hasn't been, as far as Chris was aware of, there hadn't been any calls to Neighborhood Connection for volunteer needs in Jamaica. There's, I think at last counted, maybe somebody else knows for sure, but I mean, it was close to 30 people that had volunteered to help out if needed. And I know a number of them are, driving lunches and things like that. So there's quite a few people stepped up, and we thank everybody for that. And so far we haven't had too many stresses of needs. So that's all good.
Yeah, that's happening. I delivered a meal today. It's happening.
Super.
It's still going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
No,
Yeah. Anybody out there?
it's a small part of it. There's a lot of other people doing a lot more. It's just
Right.
it's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. There's so many people doing a lot of things that's unreal. And I probably will have that as just an agenda item going forward, even with no specifics around it. So if anybody has things or there's any concerns, raise those up.
So Greg, in this, is this in the topic of sort of the most recent addendum 11 kind of discussion? I was just curious whether Sarah or Terry had gotten any calls for appointments that are now allowed under addendum 10 and 11, or has it been quiet?
Yeah, let them answer that. Sarah, you're on mute. But two so
We've had two. Had a guy come in last Thursday, and then I have another appointment this coming Thursday.
Okay.
So, and it's been fine. He wore a mask, and I just went in the other room while he made copies, and then I told him just to work in the vault, and it was fine. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
and
Perfect.
people are, I would hope they're understanding of all that. Seems like they were.
Did
Yeah,
he give
oh,
you
yeah.
any trouble?
Yeah.
Did he ask any questions about washing his hands? Did he mind
Nope,
doing
I
that?
left the door open, so he just walked right in there and was ready to go, and yep, it was good.
Good.
Excellent. And Terry, you said it was kind of busy today too, but mostly people calling regarding tax questions and not so many appointment related things.
This is my first time ever doing this, so it was quiet. It was just tax stuff today. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
people are still doing their taxes.
Jessica, do you anticipate, just from your seeing that side of the business, do you see that there's a lot of stuff that's maybe built up in the pipeline that will get out, get down to the town level of doing research and things like that?
So there were in surrounding towns. I can tell you in Londonderry, there was in some other towns. I had not been hearing anything. I know of something that's going to come up in Jamaica, but it's not ripe yet. So I was just curious if Jamaica was feeling what Londonderry did. But Londonderry got back, for example, they were pretty quick. And Winhall, they got requests relatively quickly.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a good thing, and hopefully we can stay on top of it. Thanks. Okay. Well, the next thing, Terry, we'll roll right into item 6, and I threw this out there. I know there's obviously a lot of discussion about the financial side of local government and at the town level and especially the state level. And I imagine a lot of people were wondering about that. I mean, you see a lot of select boards addressing that and bringing up those topics. So I asked Terry to kind of do a quick little forecast of what we're looking like right now and where we'll be at the end of the year. And I'll let Terry just kind of throw out a few little comments on that. I mean, it's looking good. I mean, as good as it can be, I guess. I mean, anything else to add to that? Or I can start and then Terry can add in. So, I mean, right now, I mean, we're kind of in a good situation because most of our tax revenue collection is in the fall. So we're you know, fairly well financed, I suppose, until we get, you know, through this fiscal year. We're tracking ahead of, you know, with a slight surplus. We haven't seen any unforeseen kind of expenses come in. One thing that we're being cautious of is, or that at least in my head, we should be cautious of, are some, you know, projects that we have on our budgets going into next fiscal year. Partly, you know, if grant funding and things like that kind of get bottlenecked, and then, you know, later in the fall, if we see some decline in tax revenues because of people that have been out of work for 6 months or whatever the case might be. Is that anything else to add to that, Terry?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. The only thing I will say is the sheet that I put up on the drive today, that was the projection sheet, did not include the pay orders for today. So I think there's about 30,000 with payroll and expenses. So we're gonna have to take that off the bottom line, that's all. So we're down.
So the 82 is less 30. So it's closer to 50?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. At fiscal year end.
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of the things that I took off at the top are, you know, the fiscal 20 to reserve is 180,000. And if we get to the end and we think, oh gosh, you know, we're not going to have enough money, I just won't move that. So there's a little leeway there.
There's leeway there too.
Yep.
And this includes the road projects that you created the RFP for?
This does not, because those will be
because
in
they're
fiscal
after.
21. Yeah.
Okay.
And the paving, the Pikes Falls part of the paving RFP is a paving grant from the state. So that will be, I think, about 32,000, and they're going to kick in 175,000.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So one of the things we talked about is, I mean, the state may, in June or July or next week, might just say, hey, all those things are off. I mean, so part of it was we thought it made sense to get out there and get the RFQ out there early so that at least we're in line. And if something pops up, we're kind of in control and can say that we're going to hold off or we don't have the financing from the state or what the case might be, rather than wait and see and be stuck.
Right. So there's a separate item, right, in the agenda for the RFQs?
Yes, and coming up next, so it's maybe a perfect segue.
Well, I was just, I know you and I, Greg, had talked briefly online about the delinquent taxes and whether, you know, were we going to kind of proceed business as usual? We holding tight? Was there any further discussion?
Yeah, it's certainly something to bring up. As you can see on Terry's report, there's a little over 40,000 out there. It is kind of I don't know if it's called customary, but I mean, it's kind of a procedural thing that right about this time of year, we kind of start to do the work for delinquent tax sales. Obviously the money is important, but my thought on that is that it may not be the right time to go out with doing that, so to speak. I mean, just given the sense that you're given the fact that everybody's maybe in a bind, even though these are old issues. I mean, they're a few years back. So, I mean, you can argue it probably either way. It's great maybe to have some public, you know, some comment on that from the board. I mean, I think right now they're on kind of loosely on hold, meaning that we just haven't moved forward. So, Andy, you had a thought, or Andy had a say?
No, I was just wondering if the state they haven't suspended anything as far as tax collections or are advising any municipalities to change any business as usual. I know Terry, our treasurer, has some like laws she has to follow in collecting taxes, I think. Are you talking about, we can suspend those if things got a little more bleak, or?
Yeah, and I
or
guess
what-
maybe the right word wasn't suspend, or delay, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know the strict requirements of timing on all that kind of stuff. I think the governor obviously is, trying to, get people to pay their taxes if they can. So, I mean, any kind of revenue that we can collect is good.
I mean, we can get some more detail. We can dig down a little bit on the content of the 43,000 and get back together again in 2 weeks, as well as to understand there are, in order to waive the taxes or to waive penalties and interest, there does need to be a more formal action that involves a larger group. And we could go over that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Paul, you had a comment then too, and then to Terry.
Yeah, the stuff that I've been seeing coming across my desk has led the discussion to kind of suspending the deadlines and the penalty fees, and that's sort of a little bit of a cushion for people, but it still again leaves the onus of paying your taxes and all the other things. They're just sliding the deadline a little bit and sliding and giving us permission to waive the fees. So that's the sort of stuff that I've seen coming across.
But from some other municipalities, those are the steps they're taking, or?
This is from the state and VLCT, some of their guidance. I'd be perfectly honest, I get stuff from so many different directions. I'm not sure exactly I want to quote, but I think it was VLCT talking about its interpretation of what came from the state.
Oh.
And we don't know how long this is going to go on. This might get a lot better real soon, or I don't want to I don't think we should jump the gun on projecting how the town collects taxes. We may have to do nothing.
Right. Terry, you had something there, Bad?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's abatement, Board of Abatement that can
Right.
take the taxes away. But they can only take town taxes away. They cannot abate school taxes, and they can take interest and penalty away on the school portion, but those still have to be paid. They're actually in that $900,000 payment that's got to go to the state by June 1st, I believe. And they haven't put that off as far as I know. Yeah, I haven't heard anything. But I also haven't gotten any requests for abatement from any of these people.
Yeah,
I
wasn't even thinking about abating anything or that decision. I think in our conversation, I think loosely was, do we just kind of hold off on them, whether it's a week or 2 weeks or a month? And like Andy said, I mean, we don't know how long this is going to be. Maybe just move forward. I don't know the whole process. So, I mean, I don't know the legal process, and I don't know if there's any less likelihood of collecting them right now, and that we're maybe just wasting our time. I mean, it's
well, it is funny that I had a person call today that wanted to pay a partial on their taxes.
Yeah.
And I got a $4,000 payment the other day. So some people are, and then some people.
Yeah.
And that doesn't reflect in this number either, because I haven't posted it yet. So.
Yeah. So maybe it's just, I mean, this is just a discussion. I mean, there's no action taken, which certainly wasn't on the agenda. So I think.
Yeah, agreed.
I'll take recommendations. Otherwise, maybe we'll just move forward as we're moving.
I like the idea of continuing.
His hand up there too, just being I'll go to Lou and then back to Paul.
Okay, just from the perspective of the listers, we've been given guidance that we do have an extension if we want to take it to create the abstract, but we do not plan on taking that. We plan on having grievances as normal. They'll be via telephone or by Skype or whatever. And we plan on filing the abstract early in July. So that should be, from the lister's perspective, everything, the grand list should be ready in July.
Okay, that's good to know too. Yeah, Paul.
I was just saying, I like the idea of pressing forward. I'm against the idea of trying to make plans to deal with an occurrence that hasn't occurred yet. So
Yeah.
let's see where it's going, and then we can deal with.
It wasn't an agenda. I think it maybe we just kind of we're touching on it, and well worth touching on just as a town finance issue.
Yeah, I agree.
That we just continue to move as we are.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Good discussion.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah. So then on to the RFQs. I did share them. I mean, I think we haven't decided on any, obviously, but we need to be moving these forward. The ones for paving and trash hauling are a little bit bigger in the scope of what they are. The mowing of the cemeteries is pretty straightforward, and we do every year.
Greg? Tom here. So on the cemeteries, Rossonville's not on there. We decided we're not doing Rossonville?
I didn't even notice it. I don't think anybody
Yeah,
decided
'Cause
anything.
I can't remember what we decided on that.
You're talking just the monument, or
Just the monument, yeah. Not the whole cemetery, but just the monument. Wouldn't that, because I remember last year we had Amadon, Drew do that. We added that later, I thought, just had him do that after we had talked with Rossins.
yeah,
Well, that
Terry and I
was-
had a little bit of this conversation because this was primarily, I mean, this is for the cemeteries and it's not for all the other
Oh, it isn't, okay.
miscellaneous kind of town stuff, meaning like the little triangle in front of the church and all the, you know, but those, I mean, that was on the back of my mind. I can't even recall, Terry, we talked about it and I can't recall how those were done in the past. Or Paul probably knows too. Yeah, Paul.
Well, my thought on this is most of our discussions took place before it was clear that we didn't own or have any claim on that monument.
Right.
And then it's been, it's clear now that we thought it was clear before. We really don't own it. It belongs to a combination of the Rossonville people and I believe Mrs. Wright from across from, Wilbur's ex. I think owns that piece of property. And so we were taking care of it because everybody, I assume in the past, because I know when we were talking about it when I was in the past, we assumed it was part of the town, but it's not.
Okay.
Right. Andy.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know I was on that. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, so this RFQ is for just the mowing of the cemeteries, and there's probably a handful of miscellaneous other things out there.
I just had one question on the RFQ for the road paving.
Yeah.
I know that's next fiscal year, but obviously it's going out now soon. One of the things that it looked like would be pretty critical is what the proposal would be for scheduling, for when they would come in, how long they would be there, et cetera. And it does say in the text of the RFQ that one of the bases for the decision to be made will be how much time it's going to take you to do it and how tight your scheduling is. But it doesn't actually ask for that. Now, I wasn't sure if I had missed it, but I think if we're going to use that, in fact, just, we should. If we're saying that one of our criteria is the length of time it's going to take them and the scheduling, then we should specifically ask for that information. It's a small fix, but I may have missed it.
Yeah, I don't recall either. I don't have it memorized, but if it's in there or not.
If someone had a Word version to send me, then I could search the document. But I think what you sent were PDFs, right? Were they? It could be.
No, they were
I have
Word.
the Word document.
Oh, they're Word?
document. Yeah.
Oh, so then it's a quick search.
Yeah, I'm browsing it real quick, but obviously I'm not going to see it probably. So I don't recall if that's in there or not. So I mean, the request for this has come out, and if people do request, I mean, we can put that. I mean, the announcement of this has gone out, but if people request a copy of the RFQ, we can certainly add that in, I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Terry? Is it in there?
I don't remember seeing it. No.
Okay.
No.
And I'll double check, Terry, after the meeting. I'll search the document. If I find something, I'll let you know. Otherwise, it should just be added.
I'm pulling it up right now. Maybe I can answer your question.
Yeah, I only have one screen where I am, so I can't, and I already have three tiles open.
Yeah, and this too, I mean, this, hopefully we, like before we said, we'll get this lined up so that it's ready to go. So we've got a little bit of time to get the details sorted out.
All right, I've got it pulled up. What was your question again, Jessica?
If there's a specific request for the RFQ provider to specify the length of time each of the projects is going to take them, and kind of and rough scheduling.
Yeah, my look at it is only showing just a completion by date of the September.
Yeah, that's all I've seen so far.
Yeah, I've read through it too. I don't see anything in there about that.
Okay, so it's just a quick fix.
So usually when the bids come in, the contractor brings the bid with them, and you can actually ask them questions. They usually stay for the bid opening. Bless you.
This could be something that, I mean, one we
At least
get
I was on mute.
answered, work them into a contract. So
Right. The only thing is, right, if you're specifically saying that you're going to base your decision on these objective criteria, and one of them is a criteria, you're not asking all the bidders to provide, it's an internal failure. So it's just really a fix. It's not, it just, the document itself should stand on its own and be kosher. So you have to ask everybody to provide the same information, that information upon which the town is going to base its decision. That's all. It's literally, you can copy what the words were for how you're going to make your decision, including the scheduling, and just add that into the list of information they have to provide.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. And then the other main one actually to talk about is the one for the trash hauling and the recyclables. We had started to put that together, and Terry and I were working with Bob, and his name's eluding me, but the executive director of the Wyndham Solid Waste, just to get some feedback from their perspective and other contracts or other RFQs they had sent out. One of his suggestions is that we may want to have a little bit wider window for people to submit bids, because just to get a wider range of people to apply.
And the timing seemed tight.
It's going to
right?
be immediate, and they're going to jump right on it, and they're going to know, but then that might short us a little bit and having a wider pool to pick from. So the thought is to go, right now our bridge kind of contract with Casella goes to June 3rd or June 1st. The discussion was to see if we can extend that contract by a month. I wouldn't imagine Casella is going to say no. I mean, they're getting paid for it, and that would give us, we wouldn't be required to have the bids back by our May 7th meeting. It would give us another few weeks to get the bids back. And also looking forward, the following meeting after that is on Labor Day, and I think historically we don't have a meeting then. So I don't know what the rest of the board's thoughts are about trying to see if we can extend Casella's contract by a month and then open this up a little bit wider for timing to get the trash bid back.
I agree with that. It seems tight. Especially in light of the no meeting on Memorial Day.
Yeah, and this kind of, like, everything seemed to sneak up on us, I guess, with everything going on the past month or so. Any other thoughts?
I'd agree with that. I think that they may have some timing issues of their own, given the Corona thing going on. So they might
What are the yellow highlights on the organics, composting? Vendors could submit quotes.
So this one hasn't been finalized yet. So those were just questions. I think, I can't remember if Terry highlighted those or maybe Bob had highlighted them. Whether they were, some bids don't include those. I mean, and so he wasn't familiar with what we had done. So I think he was the one who highlighted those. Is that correct, Terry?
I highlighted them
Okay.
because there were questions. This came from a RFP that was 3 years old, and it was a little different. So I took the 3-year-old one, and I took the first one that he had sent to you, and kind of mashed them together.
Okay.
And then this was so my questions were in yellow when I sent it off to him, and you got the yellow one too, so.
Okay. So those aren't things we need to answer tonight.
No.
Okay.
Right, and right now Casella does, I mean, they do the organics also. I mean, Tam had been doing that, and so we would bid those all together.
Got it.
Okay, so I will contact Casella to see about extending that contract, and then we'll kind of just brush up on this, and I'll share it back out with everybody to see what it looks like, or any other comments on it. Let us know, and Terry can get that one out into the works also.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, next item 8.
Before we move on,
Take this one. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
I had my hand up, but it's a tiny little hand.
I didn't see you.
Real quick, before we leave the previous conversation about the bids for paving, before we kind of went pretty quickly. In the bid for paving, it's asking for a project completion date as September the 30th. Is that a reasonable time frame given the shutdown of everything for the last couple of months? What are the reasoning behind that particular date, and is that flexible enough given the current COVID issue?
I think it says we can decide. I read it this afternoon. I think it says we can extend it longer, but we'd like it done by the 30th. Is that right?
It says without written consent. Yeah, it says will be done it can't go longer without written consent from the select board. I just thought up front it seemed like it might be tight.
Well, I mean, if we can change it, what's the big deal? You know, then
I don't remember why. Yeah, what was the reasoning behind the 30th September?
Well, if we tell them the 30th, it's like me. You know, you can tell me I got to be done by Christmas, but you'd really like it done by September 30th. You know, if we give them the 30th, they'll try to get it done by then.
Yeah, right? I think part of it too, you're getting to the point where after that point, you're getting into more weather issues and stuff like that too. So let's force them to get it done earlier.
I'm just wondering if we'll force them to get it done, or we'll force people who know they can't get it done to not bother to bid.
Well,
Terry's got a thought.
I think that will give them sufficient time, because I think with the opening up, all the plants will be opening. If they haven't opened by now, they will be opening fairly soon.
And if they decline to bid on that basis, they're most likely to say, you know, guys, I would love to bid, but it's just not reasonable. And then we can come back and amend the offer.
I concur with that.
And this RFP was done by VTrans. So they know, I think, what they're talking about as far as dates and stuff go. I'm sure their RFP is
technical of all the RFPs and the ones that we had the least.
Yes.
So, which is
Terry, I thought you wrote that second page all by yourself.
I'm not looking at the second page, so
That's
I have
the
no
one-
idea what you're
The
talking
one with all the tiny little details about
It's really, right, it's really technical.
Well, I do have the spreadsheet to figure out how many tons it takes to do a road, if you're interested in some light reading.
Okay, that was my question.
Good question, though.
Yeah.
All right, so next item was kind of a bucket of technology related issues, and Tom was going to kind of speak to that. A couple of things this week or last week happened, and kind of work through them, but Tom's got more of the detail.
We had a rough time with the website, I think some of you know. First off, I want to thank Lou for helping me get it fixed and cleaned up. We went through and he cleaned out all the old JBoss, which is a website that the old website was on. So we've cleaned that up. And so the back end is a little clearer. But a week ago, Friday, the website was hacked, what they call an injection, where someone puts in a JavaScript that puts a link in all of the redirects. So when you click on the site, it redirected to some malware. I spent some time looking at it. I spent some time with GoDaddy. We eventually had to purchase a security product from GoDaddy, and then they went in and cleaned it up. So that was an emergency purchase that Greg and I decided on because the website had to come back up. After that, I went in and I upgraded the website to the latest version of WordPress. So that is now, we now up at the latest version, and we are running the security. I had asked, and I'm asking the board, I think we should purchase from GoDaddy as well, a backup of the site. It's $2 a month or $2.99 a month for a daily backup, just in case this ever happens again. We'll have a backup, because that's one of the concerns, because basically we didn't have anything. So if they couldn't have gotten our site back, we would have lost it and had to start over, or start back from some point in the past, which was probably about a year old. So it's $36 a year. It's just added peace of mind if something were to happen or we were to get hacked again. But at this point, the site is up. It's been stable for a couple of days. Sarah, I downloaded a plugin as well. So now the editing looks like the old way. So if you go in, you should be, if you can get in, you should be able to edit things and edit the pages and stuff, just like you did in the older version. So, but it is still running the 5.4. So that was not a fun exercise, but we got through it. A lot of stops and goes.
Yeah.
The second thing we want to talk about tonight is the router for the town office, and the router failed at the town office. And we're looking at purchasing a new one. I think we have purchased one. I was throwing out an idea that perhaps we want to purchase a system which would allow some remote access. It would allow for multiple access points, so we could have an access point upstairs and downstairs. It's about $450 for the products, and I would install them. It just gives us more security and gives us more insight into who's on the network, and also allows remote administration of the network. So, you know, it's some bells and whistles, and I kind of showed Greg a little bit. I don't know if someone's interested, I can show you what you can see if someone wants me to demonstrate, because I run it at my house. Is anyone interested in boring tech stuff?
I'd love to see it, but both of those recommendations seem pretty wise.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, let me show you real quick. I can pull up. I mean, again, and it's not anything that the end users are going to see any difference. I mean, it's going to be better performance such. It's more of just as if we were hacked locally, we would just have a better idea of what, you know, who's on the network and those types of things. And we can block devices. If there's a rogue device on the network, we can go in remotely and block it. Let me.
Yeah, and a lot of this, I mean, there's all the administrative side of things that we use in, you know, systems in place that Terry and Sarah use, NEMRIC and things like that. But there's also public access. I mean, there's demands for that. I mean, we've got it shut off at the town office now, but the security of systems and the website and software and everything is becoming more and more of an issue.
And that's the other thing too. With this, you could provision out a separate network for public and a separate network for the office, and it runs off the same equipment. So we wouldn't have to. But basically, you see in my house, I have access points. Kind of gives my internet capacity. You can kind of look and see traffic types if we had people on the network that were, you know, just basic stuff. I mean, it can get kind of geeky, but the bigger thing here is devices on the network. So that's devices, clients rather. So you can see all the different clients on the network, and you can see what the IPs are, where they're connected to. You can click over here and block a device. So I could go and block my kid's Xbox if I wanted to. Obviously I've geeked out on this and labeled all this stuff, but you know, like I say, it's not something that we necessarily need. What I was talking to Greg about is if at some point I leave town and I'm not around to do some of this administration, and Lou leaves, and you know, then you know, someone could come in, say here's this remote access stuff that you can, you know, get in and administer. It wouldn't even necessarily have to be someone local. Like I say, $450. I think a new router is about 130, so we're talking about a $300 difference. And it makes no difference if we say we don't want to do it, that's fine with me. I'm just throwing it out there.
Seems like a good idea, given the fact that so much of our day-to-day activities in this country over the last couple of months have shifted to online across all spectrums, I anticipate there'll be some more people looking for avenues to attack it. So I think the idea of upgrading it makes good sense to me.
Yeah, and Lou has his hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that about a week and a half ago, we did order and get in a new router. I told Terry today, because she was concerned about how she would get paid back, that if you decided to go this route, then the Jamaica Historic Foundation router is the one that was actually in the town offices that failed. So the Historic Foundation needs to purchase a new router. So should you decide to go with this new format, the Historic Foundation would then purchase the router we bought a week ago.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing too is, there's multiple access points. So like I say, it's just, you're going to get better coverage as well. Rather than just having one in the closet somewhere, they're actually going to be in the office. So, I mean, you're just going to get better coverage, better throughput and that type. So.
Yeah, I mean, it does actually operate better, right? It's both. It gives you a lot more information.
I mean, it all does the same stuff. It's all the same protocols and it's all the same technology. But yeah, it gives you a lot more information about how it's being used. More visibility, more security, right? Right. And what one piece of it too is I wouldn't call this an enterprise level solution, but it's more towards that where you're getting a little more professional than just going out to Staples and buying a router, buying a consumer level. It's definitely not consumer level. I wouldn't run it at my business per se though, like a college where I'm at, because it's not advanced enough for that. So it's good for small business, and I think that we fit into that category.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? I'll entertain a motion to purchase.
It's called ubiquity.
Anybody want to make a motion to that regard, or?
Sure, let me make a motion. I'll move that we authorize Tom to purchase the appropriate hardware to upgrade our current system.
And to purchase the redundant, the $2 a month redundancy of the website. So both, right?
Yes.
Okay. I second that.
Yep.
Okay, I've got a second. All in favor, or any other comments? Any other discussion? All in favor of making those purchases?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So it looks unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
One more thing to talk about too is the Windows 10 upgrades. I know we got the 2 new machines for Terry and Sarah. The plan of attack that Lou and I discussed is I have a machine here still that I took from the office a couple months ago. I'm going to upgrade that. We're not going to do an upgrade. We're going to actually wipe the machine and do a Windows 10 upgrade on the machine from scratch. I'm going to bring that in. We're going to pull Micah's machine out then and wipe that machine and do a Windows 10 upgrade from scratch. So I will also be buying Windows 10 licenses over the next couple of months. And I think that's something we've already approved. I just need to get the work done. So just want to let you know that was our strategy. Instead of trying to upgrade things, we've got the 2 new machines, going to wipe them and get the listers upgraded as well. So everyone will be on Windows 10 and we won't have any Windows 7 left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Which is, we discussed it before. I'm just letting everyone know what we kind of cheat our plan of attack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Andy.
I did have my hand up.
Andy.
Are you getting like an obscene amount or a lot of time in all this, Tom? Because if you are, I think, it sounds like this is quite a bit of work that you should be compensated. If you're not being compensated, you should be to some extent, unless you have an awfully big heart.
The network stuff shouldn't be a problem. Because I just did it at my house. I just did it back in February.
Yeah,
so
but still,
I
just putting it out there. I mean,
the other things, I'm doing it for the town. I mean, the website going down was, I'm surprised it didn't happen before, and talking to the guys at GoDaddy, they're like, you had no security on this thing. It was wide open. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, I think we've fixed those problems. We shouldn't have any more hacks there. And if we do the backups, let's cross our fingers that nothing will happen. But I'm happy to do it for now for, pro bono. All my pro bono work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, but I mean, I think the most works because I can configure the network equipment here and just go install it then some night. You know, I've got to go over, do a little reconnaissance kind of stuff to figure out where some connections are as such. But other than that, it's not going to take me a ton of time. If it does, I'll let you know.
All right.
That's getting annoying. So thank you, Andy, though.
I've got one other thing I'd like to bring up on this topic.
Yeah.
One of the things we did when we were putting in the new router while we had Ernie from SV Cable there is we upgraded our internet service to the 50 megabit service. We were on a 6 to 20 megabit service, so we kind of upgraded 2 levels. I wanted to bring you up to date on how how we're paying for that.
Okay.
Right now, SV Cable's been very good to the town of Jamaica. We were on the 6 to 20 megabit service, and they were only charging us for the 1.5 megabit service plus a $10 fee for that second modem, and we were paying $39.95. When we upgraded 2 levels to the $69.95 per month level with the 50 megabits. However, Ernie's only charging us $54.95, which is for the 30 megabit service. So we're actually getting the 50 megabit service at the 30 megabit price. So my suggestion is to stay at the 50 megabit level.
Will that all change when Comcast buys Ernie up?
Well, Ernie's hoping that Comcast will support that fee going forward, but he can't guarantee that.
Right.
Right.
I'm concerned about that too. And if they come through, I know over in Bonneville, they run fiber. I mean, if they decide to run fiber through here and then they're doing, you know, or cable, you know, 100 megabit cable, that's definitely possible. It's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Lou. I don't know if we need to authorize that. I mean, that's kind of built into our operating cost, I think.
No, I just wanted to let you know so that you, because, you know, we did tell you that we upgraded the service.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Next on the agenda is the local emergency management plan, and Paul can talk to that.
Briefly, I sent it out to everybody, so you also have a copy of it. I just talked to Alyssa today. We had to have a 2-week period where we solicited any comments or information or just basically comments. We've gotten none as of today. So I talked to Alyssa. It is now gone. We will sign the paperwork, well, it's already gone forward actually, because I put today's date on it when I sent it to her. And we should hear back from the state eventually, but right now it's all done. And the ERAF is Terry, help me. Emergency reimbursement. Anyway, it's a fund where the state picks up a portion of our portion of any kind of FEMA projects that we buy. At any rate, it is now up to where it needs to be. Everything's taken care of. I just want to let you guys know that there were no comments. Everything went the way it was originally done. It is now in the hands of the state, and we should be fine.
Yeah, and so this is something that's updated every year, readopted every year, something required by FEMA in order for the town to be in the chain to get reimbursement if we need to. And it's a fairly straightforward, simple document for people who haven't seen it. It's more or less a chain of command, a contact list, who to call if something's going on, basically. It doesn't say what's going on or when it's going to happen. It just says who to call.
And in the future, future as in when I'm gone, in order for that thing, it has to be signed by someone who's taken the ICS course, either 100 or 402, I think the other one is. Those are available online. I keep sending links to you guys as they come across. But all the select board members should have at least 100. But in order to get that signed, it has to be signed by someone who's taken the ICS course.
I have it.
You've got it? Oh, good. Good.
Yep.
You signed it. Yeah. So I
No, you can sign it, but I'm
Well, it's
still
all done
around.
now.
I'm still certified for one, or I can't remember if I took the second one. I know I took the first one. It took all summer
Okay.
because of all the,
That's-
there were a lot of
that's
things going on, and the
encouraging.
guy, it took all summer because there were a lot of major crimes, and the guy facilitating it, they kept postponing the class. Me and Judy took it.
Well, the way it's set up now, they're pretty much putting everything online,
Good.
all these courses, and either 100 or 402, either one. Just a heads up, because next year I won't be on the select board at this time, so someone else needs to sign it. I'll still be the EMD, but unless you guys fire me, but we should have somebody on the select board to sign it. And Andy, if you can do that, that doesn't remove the responsibility of the other select board members from taking the ICS courses, but it's good to have.
Yep. And I hope to and plan to, just haven't got to it either.
Yep.
Andy?
Can I ask a question? Were there other incentives for select board members to take that ICS 100 at least, or did that make us eligible for things, or was it just that one thing? Or I almost think there was some other advantages to a couple of select boards members at least having that certification. I just can't recall what it is.
Well, this particular one right now cuts our portion of the, the state's paying 75, we get 25, the state cuts it down to 12.5, 12% or something. So it has a real monetary advantage if we have a disaster. Absent a disaster or any expenses, it's just looks good hanging on your bedroom wall. But there is, the state clearly would like to have all the select board members in the whole state involved, because according to FEMA, if there is an emergency, as select board members, you are basically part of the emergency response package. And so everybody gets involved at some level, and they like everybody to have that course, either ICS 100 or ICS 402, which is the course for management, ICS management.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Do we need to vote on that to adopt that, or that's just kind of a matter of procedure and it happens?
I think it says we need
to adopt it.
We have to
Yeah,
adopt.
approve it.
I will take a motion or accept a motion of,
I'll make a
Tom,
motion to
the
accept the
motion
local
to
emergency
adopt.
management plan.
a second, sorry, I spoke over him. A second to, Tom
Andy.
has made the motion to adopt the local emergency plan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Andy, sorry, not looking all over my screen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 We got 5. All opposed? Any opposed? Thank you. Unanimous approval on that too. Okay, next on the agenda, an update on the Communication Union District. And I'm glad Chris is on the phone here too, or on the chat. He can help me here. Basically, and thank you, Chris, for kind of continuing to spearhead this. I think maybe at the last meeting, I don't recall, but the survey results came back. The region-wide and in the town of Jamaica, there was significant response to the survey to make it worthwhile, I guess. I mean, move forward with creating a business plan to create a communication union district. So the long-range hope of that is to provide high-speed internet access to those that are underserved or not served. The time frame of that, and they're still working on the same time frame, is to have a business plan out there by the beginning of August, and between now and then work through with communicating that, spreading the word and that kind of thing. And soon after that, and I guess Chris and I had some brief email discussion about the possibility of holding a town vote in September to actually become a founding member of a communication union district, as opposed to just joining an existing one. For starters, one may not exist to join, but secondly, by being a member and forming one, we get a little bit more say in how this is directed and what the bylaws are and those types of things. So probably I wasn't that elaborate in just to define it, Chris, but anything else that you would add to that?
Yeah, the WRC sent an email to us asking 3 questions. And to sum them up, the first was, what kind of information would you like us to provide? The second is, should we stay on schedule given the COVID emergency? And then the third is, how likely are your citizens to vote to join the CUD? And I proposed an answer, which I sent to everybody. And so what I would like is for you to either approve it or bark it up or substitute something, but give me something I can answer with.
The last email that you sent around that had a full draft of the response?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, I thought you had already sent it. I
No,
was fine
no.
with it. I thought it was excellent.
No, I would be usurping your authority.
Yeah, well, I guess they were looking for a deadline of April 20th, and I think maybe I interpreted it also that it was they were just looking for kind of an expectation of where we thought the town may go, and given the feedback and the survey response, we felt, or at least I did, and I think Chris did, felt pretty confident that the town would support this moving forward. I mean, the survey results kind of alluded to that. And it'd be nice to formally vote on it, and we can formally vote on it too. I thought it had moved along too, just on what our expectations were.
Well, I can make a motion to agree to have Chris send out the communication as drafted and shared with the board.
I'll second.
Perfect, thank you. Any other discussion? Anything else to add, Chris?
Nope, that's it.
Good. All in favor of the motion to move forward as planned and communicate back to Wyndham Regional regarding the communication district? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, and then I guess our next step is that they'll come back to us with some methods to help share the information of where they're going. And then after that, after the business plan is done in August, or sometime in August, we can be talking about what our next steps are as far as the town and becoming or forming a district.
I forgot something I wanted to mention. There was an outstanding issue in the email exchanges, and namely, what statute protects the town from tax liability? And it's Title 30, Chapter 82, Section 3056. Very clearly and unambiguously says the town's not on the hook for anything.
Yeah, so we're supporting this project, but it's not like we have to buy into it. There's no town finances involved. We don't, if the whole thing blows up at the end, we don't owe anything or whatever.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really a win-win. I'm glad there's initiative to move forward on it. It's awesome. Paul.
Real quick question for Chris. Do they still think that timeline is still a valid one?
I can't answer that. I sense some doubt on their part, and I think they want to finish the business plan on time because they're working on a use it or lose it grant. But I mean,
you don't know.
The fourth quarter of this year might not be a very good time to go to the capital market. So who knows what's going to happen. But I'll say that I think there's supposed to be money in the federal budget for rural internet development, and they want to be in a position to apply for a grant for that if that in fact comes true.
Good plan.
Yeah, there may be all kinds of stimulus monies out there. Who knows? And maybe properly administered ones too.
Sure.
And thank you. I think on to the next one. The next was more of just information. The school district budget vote has been rescheduled for June 10th. What that looks like, I imagine there's probably not going to be public meetings or anything, although we're getting to the point where maybe there will be some new revised. But more information will probably be coming out of that fairly soon, but it is scheduled for June 10th. I would suggest everybody gets in line, and I'll defer to Sarah too to talk about getting maybe some absentee ballots and whatnot. So Sarah, comments on that?
Yeah, if everyone could just do absentee ballots for now, that would be great. Anyone that voted absentee before has to vote again, unfortunately. Those ballots aren't valid. So if you did absentee ballot already for this vote, you need to do it again, unfortunately. So that's all.
Yeah, thank you. That's useful information, and certainly a vote that's very important. Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, take a motion to adjourn.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Paul. Second by Tom.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Very slick meeting here. These are getting to be old hat.
Do we have to
I'm
vote?
anxious about this whole internet thing, but
We have to vote?
all in favor? We don't have to actually vote to adjourn a
You
meeting.
vote to adjourn, no. Thank you, Greg. It was a great agenda and yeah, really good meeting.
Great, thank you.